How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another Marvel Snap video. So, War Machine, probably the most hype card of the season, comes out today. He's a 4/6 with an on reveal until the end of next turn. Nothing can stop you from playing cards anywhere. So, obviously slots in very well into lockdown lists, works well with Storm, Professor X. However, he also works well and is a good enabler for Ebony Maw and Infinite. With him, playing him out, you're going to be able to skip the requirements. So you can play Ebony Maw after turn 3, and you can play Infinite without skipping the previous turn. So with that in mind, it opens up a lot of interesting deck ideas, and I've got 4 decks for you guys today. Let's go over them really quickly. The first deck is your standard lockdown list. This list from Prashan's video from a few days ago. If you don't watch Prashan, I watch him a lot of mornings on Twitch. He streams. Really cool dude. But this is the lockdown list that he has been playing. I swapped out Jessica Jones for War Machine. You can swap out Vision if you'd like, to just kind of keep more 4-drops in there. But I'm not going to dwell on this one too much. You guys know I play a lot of lockdown, and this is kind of that standard lockdown shell where trying to get Nebula out, trying to get Zabu out on 2, lockdown a lane with Storm on turn 3, play one of your 4-drops to win that Storm lane, and then try to win priority and win with Eliath or Dr. Doom to reach into that other lane. Again, not going to dwell on this one too much. Standard lockdown, slots right into here for those of you who are wondering where War Machine is going to fit best. However, I don't know how good lockdown lists are going to perform in at least the first few days with War Machine. Obviously, with lockdown, it's good to be able to reach into those lanes. However, a lot of people will be playing War Machine, and if they're playing it, then your Storm is less effective. They're going to be able to play into these other lanes, effectively nullifying the lockdown portion of your deck. So I don't know how well it's going to be in the first few days, but it's definitely one of the shells that I'm going to try immediately. The second deck, of course, by Safety Blade. He's in most of my deck breakdowns for day one. This one is no exception. I am a huge fan of this. If you remember, I said earlier, Ebony Maw and Infinite get enabled by War Machine. So with this deck, you're trying to buff up Angela as big as you can. Maybe get Zabu out to drop some of your 4-drops. But the idea here is to get Hope out on 3. And then you can play War Machine on 4 so that you can play Infinite on 5. Or you get Hope out, you play a couple 1-drops into there. You can play War Machine into the Hope on turn 5, and then you can play Infinite and Ebony Maw on turn 6. The ability that War Machine has to take advantage of Ebony Maw's full 7 power is kind of insane. I think it's going to be borderline broken if people can find a deck that works very well. Obviously, Ebony Maw has a really big downside because it's 7 power, but if you can just eliminate that downside, it turns into a big upside. So I'm excited for this deck. Obviously playing Crossbones, Cull Obsidian, you can just play other big 4-drops if you don't have Cull Obsidian. Definitely an interesting deck idea. I think at its core, the Hope Summers, War Machine, Ebony Maw, Infinite type of a package is just going to be huge, and then being able to make things cheaper with Zabu is just going to be massive. So if not this shell, that 3-card 4-card package I think is going to fit somewhere. Next up, we have a ramp list. This one, again, not super sure how well it's going to work. However, War Machine is going to nullify Electro's ongoing. So if you have Titania, you have Ebony Maw, maybe a Jeff, and you play like Electro out on 3, you can War Machine, and on the last turn, you can play Ebony Maw, Titania, use that extra energy. You can play Infinite. You can dump a lot of cards on board and avoid the Electro, avoid the Sandman. So I think it's a good idea. I don't know how well it will work. One of the ideas for this deck is you can play Electro on 3. You can Professor X something on turn 4. And if that doesn't go well, on turn 5, you can play the War Machine. And then turn 6, you can play something into that Professor X lane, maybe an Ebony Maw, maybe a Titania, and then try to flood the board, maybe with like a Dr. Doom or something. It's interesting. I like the idea. I don't know how smoothly it's going to work, but this shell is definitely one that is worth trying with War Machine, and I'm definitely gonna give it a shot on the first day. Lastly, I got this deck off of Reddit. I think it's an interesting idea. It's lockdown ish. It's more location, play with locations and swap them around type of a list, where you have Storm obviously to try to lock down a lane, but you have Quake to swap out that lane, that flooded location, with another one that you may already be winning. You can Storm on 3, Grandmaster the Storm to go middle and lock down another lane, play War Machine on the one that's left over on turn 5, and then dump a Doctor Doom and some other cards with Nebula. Just it opens up a lot of play lines. And I haven't been able to use Grandmaster very effectively. I don't really think anybody has. And so being able to play Grandmaster here and see how easy it is to kind of toy with your opponent with you know, the Storm, Quake, that kind of a combo, really excited for. And lastly, I know I said 4 decks. I'm actually doing 5. The She-Hulk, Infinite, Moon Girl type of a shell. I used to be a huge fan of the Moon Girl, She-Hulk decks. They've since dropped off in popularity and in strength, but I do think War Machine is going to enable another play line with this deck. The main play line here is to get magic out on turn 3. On turn 4, you play Moon Girl to try to copy your She-Hulks. If you can get the She-Hulks copied, you skip turn 5. Your She-Hulks are going to cost 1. On turn 6, you can play both She-Hulks and a War Machine, and then on turn 7, you can Infinite and Ebony Maw. The ceiling for this deck is unbelievably high. The ability to use War Machine for another play line to get the Moon Girls, the She-Hulks, and be able to get Infinite out is just, it's really good, and the more play lines that are enabled in a deck, just the more consistent it can be. And so this one, again, really exciting. It has the early package with Storm and then trying to win that lane with Juggernaut, and then you can just go really big with the Infinite, War Machine, and She-Hulks in one of the other lanes. You can Storm, you can swap it around with Quake. You have Silk to try to reach in the lanes over there. Again, just a lot of play lines, and the She-Hulk Moon Girl combo was one of my favorites before. I was originally going to do 4 decks, but I had remembered this one and I wanted to bring it to you guys as well. So give these decks a shot. Let me know what changes you make, if they work out for you, if they don't work out for you. If any of them work really well for me and I enjoy them, tonight, probably tomorrow morning, the video will be going up. I'll make a video on it, put some gameplay, show you guys what I was able to pull off with them. So if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. As usual, if you love all things Marvel Snap, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell. I'll see you in the next one.